So we're back. I'm not even sure what episode this is. Episode 4, I believe, of Lemons to Lemonade podcast. I'm Dan Fulkerson, and I am very, very happy and lucky to have the one, the only Geena The Latina here with me. And she is going to kind of, give us some background on herself, her life. I've been very fortunate to get to know G over the last, 2 years now?
Yeah. 2 years, about there, yeah.
Something like that. I met G through Frankie, and obviously Frankie's a good friend of mine. Didn't know Geena as well, but just from meeting in studio, hanging out at birthdays and, activities, getting to know Geena. She's one of the most sincere, down-to-earth people that I've ever met. And, you're a little bit of a local celebrity in town. So, you never know what you're going to get. And you really are what you are.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course. And I appreciate you coming on. And obviously, we've been able to work together. I don't know a whole lot of your background. I know general things about your background.
Yeah.
But I know enough to know that, you've been through some shit in your life. And I know that you lost both of your brothers. And this podcast is, the purpose of this is talking to people that have been through traumatic life events and come out the other side stronger with perspective to be able to hopefully show other people that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, no matter what the situation is. And so I just wanted to, I don't really know background and I want to be as respectful as possible. So I kind of want to just turn it over to you. And if you could give a general, what happened?
Yeah. So do you want like years and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Give it to me.
I believe, in 2003. Yeah, that was the year. Well, I had two brothers.
And you're how old?
I just out of college.
Okay.
Or just senior year in college around there. Yeah.
Okay.
And, I had two brothers. They were 17 and 19 at the time. They actually were murdered within 5 months to the day of each other. And my grandma actually died in that time too. So we had 3 deaths within 5 months. I'll tell you what happened. I'm pretty open book. I guess where I grew up, it's funny because people, I guess when they have this perception, like when they hear you on the radio or the way you speak or whatever, whenever they hear my background, they're like, what? They don't imagine I come from where I come from. But for me, it's home. I grew up, I would say, I didn't grow up poor. I grew up in the hood. I think there's a difference that people sometimes don't understand. But anyways, but it was home. Yeah. But I grew up in an area where pretty much a lot of my friends got pregnant at like 14, 15. My own brother had my niece and nephew when he was about 16 or 17, I believe. So it's just kind of a normal thing. So to actually graduate and go to college is like a rarity kind of. And for me not to get pregnant. A lot of the guys back then, I don't know how it is now, but joined gangs, and it's just, you're kind of always there by affiliation. And it's funny because when I look back now, it's just the way of life. It's not, up till this day. I mean, I have family members and, and it's just kind of normal. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying that I'm just kind of painting the picture of where you grow up. It's just your home and where you're from. Anyway, my brother, what happened, he was 17 years old and he was a senior in high school, and he actually wasn't in a gang. But where we come from, again, it's all over. Yeah. Like I grew up going to parties in high school where it ended when you heard gunshots go off and you just go home. And I thought that was highly normal until I went to college and realized that not everyone had that experience. I'm like, oh, you mean parties don't end when gunshots go off? Okay. Like I know that sounds crazy, but that's just like your thought process, right? So he was 17, and even though he wasn't a gang, again, you're highly affiliated. My other brother was in a gang, and so they went to a party, and I don't know exactly what happened. I just know what happened in the court. So this is what I'm explaining. I mean, there's always one side, the other side. But they went to a party. He got in an argument with the girl at the door. It was one of those parties where you pay like $10 to get in or whatever. And he knew the girl from junior high, and I think he called her a B word. She went in and told her boyfriend, who was on high on a bunch of drugs. And I know that because they did a whole, whatever, they tested him, whatever. And within 5 minutes, it was like 10 p.m. that he came out and just shot him in the party right in front of my other brother. And he died probably just a few hours later. So that happens in February 1st, 2003. And then my grandma dies about 5 months later. We hadn't actually even told her that my first brother had died because she had been in the hospital all the time. So she was sick. We didn't want to like worry her or whatever. And so my other brother, who was in a gang at that time, after that happened, he really tried to get out. I don't know if he tried to get out, because anyone that knows from that comes from that understands you can't just like, okay, I'm done, guys. You know what I mean? It's not that like, but I know he was working. He got he got a job with my best friend's dad. It was with the pipe fitters union. He was putting, and remember, he has 2 young kids at this point, a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. And just getting his life back on track. I remember I was living in Burbank, which is about 15 minutes from my hometown in LA. And he was like staying with me a lot. I could tell he was trying to get out of trouble, but anyone that knows that life just follows you. It's almost, I wouldn't say impossible to get out, but it's just really hard. But he went to work one day. He was working every day at like 5 a.m. He came back to my cousin's house and they were swimming, and then they were going to go to the local park to play basketball. And it's just like the park that we grew up playing at. So he went ahead of my cousin. My cousin was taking a shower, and something happened at the gym. And the only reason why I know this story is because it was after school program that was in the gym playing. So it was like 3:00 in the afternoon, and the little kids were on the witness stand. So forever, this is instilled in their memory, which I feel so bad about. But one of the little kids said on the stand, I remember, he said there was 3 black guys and there was 3 Mexican guys. The Mexican guys wanted to play with the black guys. Basketball, the black guys didn't want to play. So the Mexican guys went to the other side of the court. The black guy went to the benches, pulled out a gun and shot my brother in front of all the kids. And the only reason why I point out the race is because that's how the little kids, and that's real. And in some areas, races don't get along. I'm not saying it was race induced. I don't really know what happened. I wasn't there. I will say that the family of the kid that shot him was only 14 years old. Again, a product of where we grew up, a different reality. That's just how it is. He apologized. His grandma apologized. And I could tell that they were really, I feel like he was a lost kid too.
14 years old.
He didn't know what he was. Yeah. And he was, it was just, a product of your environment, I think. And my brother anyway died 5 months to the day. It's weird because my first brother was February 1st and my second brother was July 1st. And they died around the same time, which is interesting, I think. And so that happened. And I was right out of college because I remember I was working at Fox Sports TV. And after the second death, I just never went back to work. And
you didn't quit. You just
done. I remember it just being a blur. Like after my first brother died, I was still working. Luckily, I will say for Fox Sports, they were all so understanding, but I never went back. Like, I don't even know who called them. I think my mom might have called them and be like, hey, she's not coming back. I had a friend that worked there, so I think he got my stuff for me. I moved out of the apartment I was living in and moved back in with my family at the time. And I literally did nothing for a year. I was so depressed. I wasn't eating. I had an eating disorder. I mean, you couldn't even get me on the phone unless you came to my parents' house.
You and your brothers were close.
Yeah, my brother, we were all really close. My mom always says it was so weird. We never fought growing up. We were all really close in age too. So
I see how you are with your mom and dad.
Yeah. So we were all really close. And so I literally went through a deep depression for a long time, but I will say really, really bad for a year, meaning like all I would do is get up. I remember running a lot. That was my outlet. So I would run like 5 miles every morning. Then I would just sleep all day long. I wouldn't eat. I got really skinny. I remember one of my friends came over and was like, yo, you need to get out. Like, you look like a different person. But I was just when you're in, and anyone that's gone through deep depression due to traumatic events knows what I'm talking about. Like, you're not even thinking. You're not even, you have no, I don't know, motivation to do anything. So I was like that for about a year. Okay. And before that, I had worked at a radio station in LA. And my boss, I remember, can we cuss on this podcast?
Yeah.
Or no? Okay. So my boss, somehow.
Bulldogs on this
okay, good.
You can do whatever you want.
Is it okay? I don't want to offend you,
rules.
Teddy. So one of my old bosses had got me on the phone. And I don't know how I got, because I wasn't talking to anyone. Like, even if you're my friend, it's just this weird thing. You don't want to talk to anyone. You're embarrassed. You go through all these different kind of emotions.
Like, are you avoiding the questions? Are you avoiding the reality? Are you just
I think all of it. I think all of it. Yeah. Like, you don't give a shit. You're avoiding it, and also I was just starting in the entertainment industry, and I was really embarrassed because I thought that at first I just wanted to hide it from all of them because I didn't know. I guess at the time I thought, and it's now looking back, it's silly because I know some of these people and I know they love me and they wouldn't care. But back then I was like, they're going to think I'm ghetto. They're going to think I'm, I can't do my job. I'm just going to stay away. Yeah. Right. I didn't want them to judge my family, I think, mainly. Yeah. But one of my bosses, he must have talked to my mom, and my mom put the phone to my ear literally. And he said, "Get the fuck back to work." I was like, okay. He's like, "You can come in, you can work as little or as much as you want. You can leave whenever you want. Just get out of that house." And the next day I started working, and now I'm here.
The rest is history.
The rest is history. And I really say I threw myself into work after that. And I worked probably too much for a long time.
Did you... Because that's what I do.
When
I bad shit, I just
like, work.
I know how I'll hide this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you throw yourself into work, which isn't a bad thing, I don't think. At some point, I think it does catch up to you. And I've had like some medical problems because of that. And that's why I've tapered back now. But at the time, I think it's what I needed. Did
you get to a place where you fully processed it?
Not initially. I think at first it was okay. I got out of the house, was just processing it, but I don't think I ever, I was forced to go to therapy, but I was never really feeling the therapy thing. And I'm not against therapy at all, but I saw like different therapy. You have to find the right one, and I don't think I ever did. And it wasn't until I was already in San Diego, I met this girl. She's a energy healer. I didn't know this was going to go there, but I'll explain it. She's an energy healer. And I had one session with her. And one session with her did more than 5 years of traditional therapy for me. Shit. And that's when I really feel like I really started the healing process. And I saw her once every 2 weeks for an entire year. And it changed my life.
Okay, well, I want to know. Now you went there. I don't know. Like, actually, I have a friend that does that. And I should inquire further. But I don't know. So explain. What is an energy healer?
So it's a different way, it's a different, so what they do, it's so hard to explain. I always say it's just like book a session. Like, it's hard to explain, but pretty much it's like they tap really into you with the theta brainwave. Do you know anything about that? Okay. So the theta brainwave is when you're in deep meditation, and it's when you're really back. So they actually go into theta brainwave for you. I now am trained energy healer, by the way. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. And, but anyways, so they go into that and they tap into it for you, and they really release a lot of deep beliefs, deep emotions that are just like in you, and I know it's hard to explain, but I'm not doing a good job of explaining, but it's a moving your energy, like all the energy in your body, because we are full of energy, right? And energy is real. That's scientific. And it's so moving a lot of the stuff that you don't need out of you and downloading you with the things that you need. Yep. So especially for people that have gone through traumatic things, and I had PTSD, and I had eating disorders. Like, I did all these things after that I just needed to start working on. And that's what she did for me. And it changed my life.
It's interesting because that's how I always describe everything, is via energy. Like, that's how my life works. That's how everything works. Like, I believe it transfers, through acts and through people, and there's ripples in this life. Like, but I don't know how to explain it. It's
hard. I can't. It's like those people that like walk in the room and they don't say a word, but you feel like, or there's people that walk in the room and brain it. You can't deny that. Without them saying a word, they brought their energy, right? Now, it's important for you as a person to protect your energy, because obviously we're going to be around people and things that are going to bring us down. So it's our, what we teach in energy healing is how to protect your energy and how to make sure you're clearing yourself every day, especially right now with all the stuff going on in the world. There's so much. And so you can imagine how much trapped energy someone may have from little kid. A lot of our stuff are from childhood traumas. And if you just keep it is my belief that it can turn into cancer. It can turn into all these medical things. So why not release it is the way I look at it.
Well, and that kind of like brings me the hardest question that I ask on this podcast, because I don't know the good way to ask it, because it's not what is the benefit of your life because of what happened, but what is the difference in your life because of what you went through? Do you think you'd be Geena the Latina, who you are today, living your life? Because you grind like no other. You know what I mean? Like, do you think you'd be who you are today but for what you went through?
Absolutely not. I don't think so. I don't know who I would be, but I do think that when something like that happens to you so young, you really start to value life and you really learn what's important. And, and in a way, like I wish that never happened, but at the same time, it taught me a lot. It taught me what's important, your family, your friends. So many times we can get caught up. And I was living in LA and the Hollywood scene, doing all this stuff. I really feel like it saved me almost, like I feel like I know what's important. I know that, like, I don't do stuff for money ever. People like, they'll bring me endorsement deals. And if I don't agree with the client, I won't do it. And people are like, how are you turning that much money down? It's because it doesn't sit well with me, and I think that's part of what I learned from it, is that everything I do is for a purpose. Like, people don't understand, we're on the radio to distract people from their regular life. Like, we may be talking about Kim Kardashian, dumb shit, right? Yeah. But it's to make them forget about their real life, to forget about their 10 hours, forget all the chores they have to do, to just bring them happiness. And that's what people don't realize. And I think everything I do is I choose to do it. I won't do anything that doesn't feel right in my intuition. I don't even need a reason to say no. If it doesn't feel right, I'm not doing it, right? But if it feels right, I'll do it for free. You know what I mean? And so that's how I feel like I've learned that from my brother's death, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know who's going to be here and who's not, and what, and so it really helped me, I think, at a young age, realize like I'm doing this for a life purpose, other than where other people sometimes chase fame or money or whatever it is. And I will say, when you start when you start focusing on your passion and doing things for purpose, all that other stuff comes, the money, the whatever it is, without you even asking for it, but you always have to make sure that what is your main purpose in doing it? What's your intention behind everything you're doing? And if it's not right, it's not going to work out. It may work out momentarily, but in my belief, it's not going to work out long term. And that you give back so much.
Well, and why all that shit comes back around.
Absolutely.
Because it's energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's energy.
Yeah, exactly. You should really look into energy healing.
No, I found maybe
I'll do a session with you.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. We're good.
I love it. It's funny because I went to her for like a year, and then I'm a naturally curious person. I was a studious person. I always got straight A's growing up. I was like, well, what the fuck is this girl doing to me? I want to learn. So then I went and took classes, and it turned into like becoming certified. And it's like a form of Reiki a little bit, but more speaking. And now it's just a full on, like, I have clients, and it's kind of, I don't talk about it publicly because I know at first sometimes people, obviously I'm talking about public, I'm getting a little bit used to it, but it took a while because I was afraid of what people might think or whatever. But then I'm like, I believe in this shit so much. Who cares, right? And so I haven't fully talked about it on the radio. I think people know, they think I'm a hippie or whatever, which is fine with me, but I believe in crystals. I believe in all that stuff.
I can't do the normal therapist thing.
Yes,
like, it's no disrespect to a therapist, but I'm sitting there going, you're a person, you got problems.
Exactly.
You read more books. I've been to college. I know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can't do that. Like, there's no connect for me, and I've tried it.
Me too.
But there's no connect. Yeah. And so I would like to, like, no bullshit, not just for the podcast. I would like to, because that's how I live my life. When shit happens, when I lose people, I just keep working.
Yeah.
And I bury that shit.
Yeah.
And I do believe, like you said, that if you don't eventually get that out, it will come back to haunt you.
Yeah. And I didn't even really talk about this. So I was already in San Diego. So this was about 7 years after my brothers died. I had, I don't want to go too much into my medical issues, but I had something where I had to go in the hospital. I had to have blood transfusions, and the doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. I saw every kind of doctor, and nothing worked. And I finally went to these healers, and all of a sudden shit started changing. Right. And then this was before I met the energy healer. So that's when it was like first opened my eyes. And then as I met the energy healer, now, I believe that doctors are great. And I think a combination of Western medicine and holistic is the best, and you choose what's good for you. But I started seeing all these results by my holistic doctors and by these energy healers and these Reiki people and all this stuff. And so I was just like, fuck it. If it's working, I'm doing it.
That's what I'm saying.
But it really took me being in the hospital to really say, hey, I need to look at my health, because I do feel like sicknesses come up. Some people are stronger and will last till 60 before something shows. Some people show it up at 30, but I do think that like they show up to, hey, let's change something, like something's going on. And I really feel like that stint in the hospital was like my eye opener. Hey, it's time to work on your body now and stop putting down all these emotions and not talking about it and doing, start working on yourself. And that's when all that started doing. So it's been a journey.
Well, I've now met the person that can help me work on my stuff.
I would love to do an energy healing session. I've been telling Frankie about it. He's actually open to it too. Again, I'm barely starting to tell my friends. I've been doing this for years, but it's been more, and that's my fault. I shouldn't care what people think. And I know that's always, but being in the public eye, people will come at you for whatever. But I'm finally to a point where I believe in it so much. It's healed so many of my friends, my family. It's healed myself.
Here's what I think we should do. I believe. You and I have a session, and eventually you come back on, and we'll talk about it.
And then you can explain it better than me.
And we can try to give some more information.
Yeah, it's a form of meditation, really. And then let's do that.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
No, thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
I really do.
Cool.
So
let's go.
That's pretty much everything. It's a wrap. Next episode coming whenever I have time. God only knows. There's no real organization behind this, as you've all found out. But I hope you enjoy it, and I hope someone out there, takes something away from this. Again, my only goal, my only purpose with this is just perspective, because that's how I've gotten through all the shit in my life. That's why I have a smile on my face every single day, is because I see bad shit, and I know how lucky we all are, and I know we can all get through some of the worst things that can happen to us, because I see people go through it every day. So thank you to Geena to coming on. Hope everyone out there as well. Be kind to one another, especially right now, and we'll see you next time.